What's going on, guys? Welcome on back to Second and Short, Mosaic MC. I am Tyler Lauder, your host here, joined with my co-host, Mosaic MC East, Jason Teasley. In today's episode, starting us back off, we're going to talk NFL. We're going to talk about our mock draft. We're going to do a two-round mock draft, going back and forth, alternating, being our own Kuiper and McShay ourselves. We'll be using the NFL mock draft database as well as our website. They're one of the only, mock draft simulators out there that allows you to do trades and to draft for everybody, and it costs you $0. Really cool website that also has an overlay big board. It takes in mock drafts from thousands of websites, big boards from hundreds of different areas, and puts a consensus together as well. So with all that being said, I'm going to start off with the number one pick. The Carolina Panthers are going to be selecting Bryce Young, quarterback out of Alabama. The reason why they're going to be taking Bryce Young is because of his poise in the pocket. He's very relaxed and he doesn't seem to get too rattled. Is size a concern? Potentially. We'll be discussing that more in future episodes as we go on. But overall, I think Bryce Young is going to come to the NFL with a fantastic offensive line, a really good run game, one of the best coaching staffs I've seen Carolina ever put together, and he's going to have good weapons in DJ Chark, Adam Thielen, Hayden Hurst, Terrence Marshall, Laviska Shenault, maybe a pick later on in this draft. Who knows? But overall, the nice run game with Miles Sanders as well, he's going to be set up for success right away, where I think Carolina, depending on the other quarterback movement in the division, could jump into this division lead right away. Now, you're on the clock with the number 2 pick, Houston Texans. We are doing trades in this. If it works out, we will make sure that the trade is kind of somewhat balanced and just kind of get it going, but you're on the clock.
Yeah, I mean, I expected you to actually take who I'm taking here, and I'm going to take C.J. Stroud. There's a lot of talk about Stroud going one and the Texans taking someone else here over Young, but I think if Stroud's there, the Texas Tech gives you a big body quarterback in a pure division. I look for the Texans to do a complete rebuild here. You're going to have all the raw tools there, so why not get your quarterback in place for the future and build around him?
Yes, absolutely. And right now, I'm actually going to do a trade with the next pick right here. With the number 3 pick, the Tennessee Titans are going to move up and trade with the Arizona Cardinals here. Tennessee Titans are saying they're kind of willing to move on from Malik Willis. They're okay with, losing on that 3rd round investment, which I think anybody at 3rd round is okay with that. And they're going to move up and draft Anthony Richardson. So let's get a couple things out the way why they're going to do this. Number 1, Ryan Tannehill's still there. I think they can use him for another year as a transition quarterback. On top of that, they get to leapfrog Indy, who really wants a quarterback as well. I think if Arizona can fall back and gain lots of draft capital, I think they're going to be the worst team in the NFL this year. I don't think Kyler's going to play at all, really. And so the Titans get to move up, take quarterback Anthony Richardson here. They get an athletic freak, a very strong arm. Even though his accuracy isn't that great, I mean, there was a lot of drops on that Florida team as well. Great mobility as well, able to push and run the ball. And he can execute that RPO, I think, when he moves into the NFL. Really strong arm to be able to hit his deep threats as well. One thing that people don't give Richardson enough credit for, though, is his pocket presence. I saw him evade multiple sacks throughout this past season, especially reviewing film. He's really good at kind of using his peripheral vision, which is something that I think we all take for kind of granted, like everybody has it, but he does it really well. And he's able to evade and get out of the pocket. And I think that's why he creates so many first downs and has so many rushing yards. So Tennessee Titans make a huge move here, get a quarterback, prevent the Colts from getting a top 3 guy. And now you're on the clock with number 4.
Yeah, I think that with the draft going this way, I think the Colts are going to stay here and they're going to do what they do best and what they absolutely need is they're going to take Will Anderson Jr. out of Alabama at the edge, secure that defense. They definitely need to put some pressure on the ball. I don't see them like being a high-powered offense. They definitely need a quarterback, and I think they can wait on that right now. but getting an elite edge rusher like Anderson right here is a no-brainer in my opinion.
And with the 5th pick in the NFL draft, Seattle Seahawks, I think, will be a little surprised that Anderson goes at 4 there. But I do think we're going to discuss in our, we discussed in our previous podcast this past week. Go check that out there of, rumors that we think might be true or whatnot, and quarterbacks maybe falling down. But I think the Seattle Seahawks are in a great spot where if somebody really wanted to come up and get a quarterback, they're in a good spot to kind of move down. But I think they're going to just kind of stay. I'm going to slot them an edge rusher. I think it is a pretty big need. I'm going to go Tyree Wilson out of Texas Tech. The athletic traits are just so, it's kind of like Anthony Richardson. It's just so overpowering and it's just so enticing that it's just a grab right here. He's an athlete that somebody like, Pete Carroll is going to be able to, he's just going to be drooling at the mouth with the ability that they can have from this guy to be a day one impact on the edge with his speed and strength combo.
I really like that pick, especially going to Seattle. So right here, I think if this plays out, the Detroit Lions coming up here at 6 is going to be licking their chops and being extremely happy and getting one of the top cornerbacks in the draft in Christian Gonzalez, who is an athletic freak. Putting him in that secondary is going to help this Detroit Lions team to take a step to that next level.
And that pick could totally be Devon Witherspoon as well. I think it's really splitting hairs with those two. I would think that no matter what, the Lions are in a good spot. They did just bring in Emmanuel Mosley at cornerback, as well as Sutton from Pittsburgh. So, I mean, their cornerback room is kind of growing, but with the trade of Okudah, I think getting another guy that is a good playmaker that can just, cover any speedster you got to worry about is a good thing for them there. Las Vegas Raiders here right now. And I don't think that we're going to sit in a situation where they're going to take a quarterback. I think they're going to be fine with Jimmy G. I think they have enough weapons everywhere else, but they're really struggling at one aspect, in my opinion, and that is offensive line. And while I think that Peter Skoronski is the best offensive lineman because of his versatility, I do think that Raiders organization is going to really go for length is going to be something they prioritize in a tackle. And I think Paris Johnson Jr. here is going to be the pick. Very long, great wingspan, really physical. He's quick in the hips. And I think the Raiders really need to establish and build this offensive line because if not, they'll be drafting here again next year because they just can't protect their quarterback and it could be all a big spiral for them.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And with the Atlanta Falcons coming up, they're really happy. They're going to make Jalen Carter a hometown name. He's coming out of Georgia. He's going to stay in the state of Georgia, going to the Atlanta Falcons, giving them an edge rusher that they desperately need.
Yeah, and Jalen Carter plays a lot more interior, but I think depending on most of these hybrid defenses we see nowadays, he's able to kind of play in a 3-4 as that defensive end, as we call it. But really, he's going to disrupt straight up the middle. And this Falcons team, I don't have the stat on it. I think it was Pro Football Focus a couple months ago. But Atlanta Falcons are last in the league in sacks in the past 2 years. I believe it's 39, 40 sacks in 2 years, which is just atrocious. And Jalen Carter could be the best player in this draft. There's lots of red flag smoke, I think, that's going up, and it's going to force him down, and the Falcons are going to take advantage here. With the number 9 pick, Chicago Bears are in a situation where I think this team, if you're looking online, everybody thinks the Bears are awesome and they're great and they're going to win right away and they're good to go. This team earned the number 1 pick with a franchise quarterback already in house. Reason why is because that franchise quarterback doesn't have enough time to throw. You got him weapons. You got a good run game. He's able to just push the mold himself. I think what you need to do is protect him a little bit more. And this is when my top guy, Peter Skoronski, comes off the board. Just because of that versatility to play inside or outside, it fills an immediate need, day one starter. You can start him at left or right tackle, left or right guard, and you're really going to push this team forward if they don't want to be drafting in the top 5 again with their own pick. Because it won't be from Carolina's pick, I don't believe.
No, I think Carolina's turning that corner. You, as a Panthers fan, follow that a little bit more closely here. Now, the Eagles up on the clock. I thought about doing a trade here. I don't think that they'll do it. They definitely need someone to put some pressure on. So I'm going out of Iowa, Luke Van Ness, giving him an edge rusher that will help solidify that defense and be able to stop people, especially mobile quarterbacks.
And obviously, they already have good pass rushers there in Sweat and oh my gosh, this is embarrassing. Hassan Reddick. But we do see kind of when we're talking about, Fletcher Cox and then they draft Jordan Davis. I do think they like to establish the trenches. Everybody talks about this. They like to be ahead of the game. A lot of people are trying to favor Bijan Robinson here, which is something that general manager really doesn't. He doesn't really stray away from his strategy. And I think getting somebody like this right now that can work in rotation, because the Eagles use a lot of edge rushers there. This is just going to continue to add problems for your Giants as these, the rich get richer here. Arizona Cardinals fall back from 3 all the way to 11, have officially missed out on 3 pass rushers. It is one of the biggest reasons why they probably might not trade, down because they need an edge rusher. But I think this Cardinals team needs a lot of things. I think that depending on what happens, we're not going to trade DeAndre Hopkins in this draft. I think he will be like a post-draft trade, which we'll talk about later as well. But I think the Cardinals here are just going to go with best player available, because when you're a bad team, that's kind of what you need to do. They already gained a first-round pick next year from the Titans, plus they have their own, so they can worry about that next year. I think Devon Witherspoon, while it's not the most important need for the Cardinals to get a cornerback, getting somebody that is probably the best corner in the draft. I know there's argument with Gonzalez and his athletic ability, but Witherspoon was highly impressive at the University of Illinois. And when you say that, that's, there's not a lot of Illinois prospects that come out and you're just like, that guy was dominant, but he was fantastic in college. He did really well against a lot of those high powered offenses that they have in the Big Ten. And I think he's going to be an anchor for this team that is on the rebuild.
Yeah. Then we got the Houston Texans coming back up here at 12. I'm going to go Myles Murphy out of Clemson. I had JSN slotted in there, but I think they need a edge rusher, more importantly than a receiver right now.
And Myles Murphy is a interesting case because this guy was like top 10 draft capital. He had a fantastic 2021. 2022 was more so interesting. If you guys follow That Fantasy Guy on Twitter or YouTube, he kind of breaks down his film and he kind of talks about those points of the Clemson team really didn't utilize their defensive, they have 3 good guys ranked in the top 45 here, and they just didn't really use them to their best ability. And that's kind of why he takes a little tumble here, but a good grab for this team and new head coach DeMeco Ryans, which is going to want a defensive, powerhouse there. So, and the New York Jets are in an upset situation because we're going to project Aaron Rodgers is on this team, but we're going to say it's all post-draft and they're going to trade 2024 picks. I don't know why Green Bay would want to do that. Personally, if I'm them, I'd want to, have all my stuff right now so I could start building today instead of tomorrow. But the New York Jets need offensive line. They've been having problems with tackle issues. Mekhi Becton can't stay healthy. But however, the top 2 tackles kind of fall off the board for them there. So unfortunately for them, they are going to have to take a little bit of a dip and a little bit of a reach. But Darnell Wright, offensive tackle out of Tennessee, I think is an S-backs tackle in this draft class. I think he'll be an impact guy that can start right away, gives them flexibility with pushing somebody inside as well. Darnell Wright for the Jets is going to be an impact guy right away to help out that run game and their potential quarterback in Rodgers.
Yeah, and I love that pick. So we got the Pats coming up here. I think this is a team that is kind of in flux. They've got a lot of needs. I think they're going to be a spoiler here and take somebody in Joey Porter Jr. out of Penn State to help with that backfield. You have a high-powered division, a lot of passing. You got the likes of Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. You have a lot of receivers that New England's got to get back into their ability to slow other teams down. And I think adding a player like Porter Jr. is the first step in the right direction.
And they did bring in Joseph back as well at cornerback, but I do think age is kind of one of those things where it's being, proactive and being prepared before you actually need something. And Joey Porter Jr. comes into, this cornerback class is fantastic. It is really good. And I think that if in most years, he'd probably be a top 10 pick. And I think he does kind of spoil some people that really want, him to go to Pittsburgh. I think that's a big thing that everybody wants. Right now, we're going to do another trade. It might seem unconventional in this fact that these two teams working together. But I do have right now the Tampa Bay Buccaneers moving up with Green Bay Packers. Green Bay Packers, I know that fans really want them to get a receiver, but I have them moving down because I believe that they're going to accumulate picks. They're going to understand that they're going to be building. And I think Tampa Bay wants to jump Washington right here. And I think they're going to take Will Levis at quarterback. I'm not saying that I'm a big Will Levis fan myself, but I do think that they're going to want to replace Tom Brady right away. I don't think Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask are the guys. I think a small jump here to get a quarterback is something they can do. We still did a third-round pick with it to get the switch for Green Bay. Nothing major. But Will Levis here played with a really bad Kentucky offensive line, really iffy Kentucky playmaking group. I think Will Levis has really good athletic ability. He has a really good strong arm. He's great size. I do think having somebody that can get more protection in the NFL will be able to showcase his ability. Will Levis was looked at just over a year ago as a top 5 guy going over to Kentucky. I mean, he was fantastic in 21, but obviously the offensive line issues kind of really hurt that. And also playing in Kentucky, it kind of hurt that. He wasn't able to stand out. So I think Tampa Bay gets a real big win here, and I think they're going to be able to move him in slowly and just let Baker kind of play for a little bit and then give Levis the keys as well.
I don't hate that. I think with Washington on the clock right here, you have to have your quarterback being upright. You definitely have some holes in the line. So right here, I'm taking Washington with Broderick Jones. I think that is going to be something that you can definitely add into the mix and start building that the 80s offensive line that Washington was known for to be able to move the ball in a very tough conference now.
And I think with all the quarterbacks being off the board as well, I think that we're talking Sam Howell, we're talking Jacoby Brissett, sure, but I think when we're also talking about, Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson, a run game, Ron Rivera wants to get that going and establish off the ground. And I think that he'll really be able to, establish his run game policies. Eric Bieniemy is going to want to have lots of protection back there to be able to draw up some fun things. I think this is a good move for them. I honestly, no matter who you draft for Washington, I'm just going to say, yeah, because they're one team in this draft. I just have no idea which direction they're going to go.
Yeah, you jumping me for Levis really had to make me pivot right there.
And now the Pittsburgh Steelers are on the clock, and I know I just did a trade, and I'm going to do another trade, but I'm going to swap them and the Chargers. A third-round pick should be enough for us to kind of get this going. I think the Chargers are going to see that the Packers move down, and the Packers are still in position to get a receiver, and I think the Chargers are going to trade up and get Jackson Smith-Njigba. I know profile-wise, I would say that he is similar to Keenan Allen, where they're both fantastic route runners. Keenan Allen, though, getting up there in age, hitting his 30s. I think that they are going to want to just get somebody that's ready to establish and move. They want to keep building around Herbert. And I think having somebody that can, play in the slot as well as JSN does is just something that they should do to continue to try and push, especially with us. We're uncertain. I mean, it seems like Mike Williams is always hurt. They don't have a dominant tight end yet. Eckler wants to go. So let's just get some more weapons here. Offensive line's been mocked here a lot. I know a lot of Chargers fans don't want that. But I think with the way the board's falling, they get to move up a little bit and they get to take advantage of getting the best receiver in this class.
We got Detroit coming back up. This is something that I think Detroit's going to like because they're going to be able to grab Nolan Smith out of Georgia right here at 18. So doing more defensive work on there. I had JSN slotted in there, but of course you jumped me yet again.
And I think Nolan Smith is one of these guys that is slowly climbing up boards like he should. Early in the process, I thought he looked like a lock to be a first-round pick. And then you kind of see everybody's mock drafts and some big boards come out, and he's like in the 30s to 40s, and you're kind of confused there. Really good athletic ability. He's not the biggest, but he's really physical for his size. And he's not small. I'm just saying, like, when you look at him compared to other guys like Tyree Wilson. And I think Nolan Smith with his length is going to be a really good edge setter with Aiden Hutchinson. I think the Lions do need some interior defensive line, but I think not reaching and kind of just taking a best player here is a really good thing for them. And I think Nolan Smith is going to be one of the best players in this draft. And he's boom or bust, I guess. So Green Bay Packers on the clock at 19. I don't think that they're very happy about losing out on JSN. It was their own fault for trading down, and I know that's where some people are going to say that doesn't make any sense, but I just think that they are in a situation where they still need to get receiver. I don't think this is like a slight on Rodgers by doing this. I just think it's kind of going out and just getting, a really good player. And despite some of the drops and some of the body catches, I think Quentin Johnson is the pick here at 19. I think pairing with Christian Watson is going to be a really good thing here for these two. Jordan Love, maybe a future quarterback, whoever it is, it's going to have a nice 1-2 punch here with these guys. I think he is just a fantastic receiver that we're not happy enough because he doesn't have all like the particular traits that we're wanting. He's not the best route runner. He doesn't catch with his hands as much as he should. There are drop problems. These things can be coached. Green Bay is a very good coach team. They have a good organization. And I think that they get the most out of their receivers a lot of times. So Quentin Johnson.
So I did a trade right here. Buffalo moving up. There's too much enticing. And Buffalo moves up to take the freak running back coming out of Texas, Bijan Robinson, to solidify their backfield.
Number 21 was the Miami Dolphins, had to forfeit. So we are here with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers are going to take Deonte Banks, a cornerback that I think plays really well in the slot out of Maryland. I think he's a really good fit for this team that does need another cornerback after losing Sutton. I think I think the consensus is Joey Porter for them, namesake and position-wise as well. But Banks is going to come on in and be a disruptor right away in that slot and really improve this Pittsburgh team that has been putting some work on the offensive side.
Yeah, now next up is Baltimore. I think Baltimore's getting is going to go here. They've added OBJ. I think they're going to get a receiver that, in my personal opinion, is flying up some boards. They're going to take Zay Flowers here. I think he's doing some work. He's getting a lot more looks, and I think giving him Lamar, if he signs another weapon in Flowers in that slot, is going to definitely help this offense.
Yeah, and I think he's a good pick for them there. The Ravens obviously need to continue to add more, no matter who's their quarterback. We hit a fun situation here with the Minnesota Vikings where a lot of people are talking about quarterback. They've been linked here a lot. I don't think it's going to happen, but it wouldn't really surprise me. There is lots of talks with Hunter kind of holding out right now and them not getting their premier pass rusher back. I don't think it's a big thing we're going to try and fix right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go with, super fast guy. at his position. I'm going to go with defensive lineman, nose tackle, Kalijah Cansey. He's only 280 pounds as a up in the middle on the nose tackle, but I think that he feels a good need for the Minnesota Vikings. I think he is the best player available for me right now as well, and he can kind of play in the 3-tech as well. I think his speed is going to overcome for his size that he's going to run into.
We've got the Jacksonville Jags on there. I think that this is someone that needs to help get some more time for Trevor Lawrence and get this offense running. So I'm going to Anton Harrison, offensive tackle out of Oklahoma. I think that is important to keep your quarterback upright. He's getting the weapons in there. ETN's got to have some holes open. So I think that's a good pick there.
And really good ability to kind of play inside and outside as well. All right. You are going to keep the pick 25 since you are a Giants fan. I'm going to let you take your Giants pick.
Right here, I think the biggest need is wide receiver. I'm going to grab Jordan Addison out of USC to give another weapon to Danny Dimes, who we just added a solid tight end with a deal with the Raiders, getting Darren Waller. I think adding a receiver to this, due to Sterling Shepard's injury history and the absence of high-paid receivers that we thought was going to come in and make it. So I think Addison here is destined to step in and could possibly be our wide receiver one.
Yeah, I think so as well. He's kind of been profiled as a couple people I've looked at as like a mini Stephon Diggs. I think that, he's an immediate upgrade for you guys at receiver. Even though you guys have added some bodies and everything, he's going to work really well for you as your slot receiver. The Dallas Cowboys going into the position. I don't really care that you guys have Jake Ferguson. I'm going to take Dalton Kincaid for you guys. I think his athletic ability as a receiver is just too good to pass up, especially at a position of need. He's a pretty adequate run blocker as well. It replaces Dalton Schultz right away for you. And I just think it's a really good fit for the Cowboys, who I think just need to just replace that position instead of just trust that they got something there. So I'm back on the clock, though, as well with the Seattle Seahawks. And earlier in this draft, I went Tyree Wilson with them. You traded down right here to Buffalo's spot. There's a lot of different ways they could go as well. I think that they can take the risk here and try and keep building in the trenches instead of trying to get these flash players. It's not like a definite need right now, but I think O'Cyrus Torrence is the best pure guard in this draft out of Florida. And I think having that run game established with Walker and continue to protect Geno is a must. So that's kind of the route that I'm going there with the best guard, I think, pure guard.
Which brings us back to Cincinnati, which I think they're going to be very happy here. I see them taking the Notre Dame tight end, Michael Mayer. They need to add to that short field and get a production tight end. And I think this is a great grab here, especially this late.
Yeah, and it's a really good fit for them. He's a really good run blocker as well, which is kind of the knock on him. It's not really a knock, but that's kind of why Dalton Kincaid, I think, is going to go ahead of him. But as a pure tight end, I think Michael Mayer doesn't have like a big athletic, highlight reel tape, but he's just a really good blocker. So having the ability to protect your run game as well as having another option to receive, not like the Bengals need more, is a good fit for them. So. And here we are, New Orleans Saints at 29. I know this isn't going to be very popular with a lot of fans because they don't think they actually need this position, but they do need defensive line. I think Will McDonald, the fourth, is going to be the pick here. It's not the super fancy, flashy pick for the Saints, but they need this type of player. And so that's kind of where we're going to go. Will McDonald, edge rusher out of Ohio State for the Saints.
So Philadelphia's back up on the clock. We're going to go and keep beefing up that defense with Brian Brees and letting them, make them a beast of the East along that defensive front.
So Fletcher Cox there, Jordan Davis, Brian Bresee is going to be defensive tackle 3 for them. This is kind of one of those best player available, I'm assuming, just taking what's there.
Yes. Yeah, well, I mean, you're going to be able to play those hybrid schemes. You're getting younger. You gotta build for the future, because after this year, you want to make sure that you sustain a defense. You are getting a little long in the tooth there on that defensive front, and I think grabbing 2 young things could solidify your future, getting them on rookie contracts where you can spend money elsewhere, especially after giving Jalen Hurts such a big contract.
And with the last pick in the first round, Kansas City Chiefs right here. Now, I do think this is a prime trade spot. Having Indy trade up right here is exactly what I'm going to do. Kansas City is going to get their 3rd round pick as well, and Indy will get some later picks from Kansas City as well. Even though value-wise, it's probably a little bit of an overpay there, the value of getting a 5th-year option, especially on a quarterback, I think is extremely valuable here, and I think the trade would kind of reflect that for them as well. So we have Hendon Hooker going here at the end of the first round, finishing out our first round to the Indianapolis Colts. That is it for us here at Second and Short. And now, if you missed our podcast this past week, we actually talked about, hey, what about some rumors that are going on in the NFL draft? What is true? What do we believe? And we discussed that this past week. So go ahead and check that out after this as well. And make sure to follow, comment, subscribe, wherever you're at, rate us. Thank you guys, and y'all have a great day.